Hello, this is Everard Junction, and this evening I'm going to start the short video series I'm going to film on how I'm going to do the scenery for this mainline side part of the layout. Now this section of videos is going to cover me doing how to make the terrain that actually creates an embankment, how to make the terrain that sort of goes over those tunnels, and then I'll move on to adding the scenery and the grasses and the trees and making it look really realistic. So hopefully this will give you a few hints and tips and ideas and generally be an enjoyable little video. So let's get started. Now the first things that I've done already is I've added in these cardboard pieces to give me an idea of how big the embankment's going to be and what sort of gradient it's going to have. So you can see it starts off quite large, and then it gradually reduces in size right down to the end over there. And this is just to make sure that as I build the terrain I keep it at a sort of uniform sort of height and gradually work it up and make it look nice and realistic. And it's also there for additional support. So they're just cut out of cardboard and glued in, and they don't have to be particularly well glued in, just enough to stop them falling over. The second thing I've done is I've done the tunnel mouths and portals, which I showed you in my last layout update video. And I have also masked up the track, albeit with duct tape. That's all I could find, but it's good enough. I've just covered up the track and the ballast so we don't get any plaster or glue or anything over the actual surface of the track that's going to cause the trains to have an issue when they start running again. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the very rough scenery that actually forms the backbone of the embankment, and that involves screwing up some newspaper and filling these gaps with newspaper in increasing quantities until we get up to over there. And I'll also be doing the same over there. So you're going to need a reasonably large amount of newspaper to do this, but you can probably find something fairly easy to come by. So I'm going to fill all that up with newspaper. So here you can see I've just started doing it, and just cut off some bits of newspaper or tear them off and then screw them up and wedge them in the holes, and you get a basic sort of groundwork for the scenery. So all you do is take some newspaper, screw it up into a nice little ball, not too compact, doesn't have to be perfect, and then just wedge it in there like that and add bits and pieces and build it up. So I'll add a little bit in the corner just over there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can see it's already starting to take shape, and so far all we've used is cardboard and newspaper. Okay, so here's the rough sort of hillside, and you can see it's not 100%. You don't have to get a bit of newspaper absolutely everywhere, but it provides a nice foundation for the plaster cloth and stops it sagging. So now we need to come over here and we need to do basically the same thing. Now the advantage of having made the tunnel portals is there's some stuff to actually hold the newspaper back, and because we've done the insides of the tunnels as well, there is something for the actual newspaper to rest on, and it won't fall down through to the track. Okay, so there you go. All the newspaper for this particular bit of scenery is in place. So now we can start thinking about applying the plaster cloth. Okay, it's now ready to get the plaster cloth out. Now I've opened one of the rolls, and there are two distinct sides to the plaster cloth. There's this side, which, as you can see, has lots of little plaster sort of blotches on it that stick out towards you, and if you look on the back side, it's very smooth. So when you lay this stuff down, you want to lay it with the smooth side flat onto the newspaper, leaving the bobbled side facing you, and then you can smooth the plaster around with your hands, and that will help you set the plaster cloth much more efficiently, and it will give you a stronger bond as well. To use the plaster cloth, all you need to do is cut a strip of it off, depending on how big you want it, and then just dunk it in some water. Leave it there for a few seconds, then lift it out and place it over here onto the scenery. So I'll get started on doing a few sheets of that. Alright, so I've just gone for a small sheet to start with. It's always easier if you start out small. So I've just lifted the strip out of the water, bring it over to your scenery, and then lay it down. A bit like that. And then add more and more layers and pieces next to it and build up the scenery. You can see already that it's starting to build up. As the newspaper underneath gets wet, you can also use it to manipulate the hillside and create additional shapes or flatten pieces out that you're not too happy with. Okay, so I've laid all of the plaster bandage down. I've done about 2 layers, and in tricky places I've done about 3 to 4 layers, and it's already looking pretty good. As you can see, the newspaper gives the hill some nice contours and makes it look nice and interesting, and this will dry rock solid and be really good to work with. You can see already actually down here it's already starting to go off and is already fairly solid, but I would still leave it to dry for a good 12 hours before you did anything with it. You don't want to undo all the good work that you've just done. But yeah, I'm very pleased with it. It's looking good. You can see the tunnel portals are nicely bedded in. There are a few gaps, as you would expect, particularly down here where there will be more of a sort of hill and stuff, and I'll be working on that separately once I've finished this bit. But it's looking pretty good. I'm quite happy with it so far. So in part 2 I'll move on to painting the hillside and starting to add some of the base scenery.